Dementia residents are exposed to an enormous amount of mind stress and mental stress, with so many anxieties that they have to face. Firstly, dementia unit anxiety and all the anxieties that come from living in a dementia unit, and then dementia anxiety and all the anxieties that come from memory loss, direction orientation loss, and dementia blanks. And then, of course, the anxiety of life itself, general life anxieties. So to get relief and respite from all this anxiety and mental stress, their thinking really needs to be redirected along another channel. And the way to redirect their thinking is through concentration and focus. And this focus and concentration can be activated through activities such as quizzes, crosswords, newspaper reading, good conversations, engaging activities, etc. So when a dementia resident can focus and concentrate and be interested in the topic at hand, if that interest can be garnered, then the concentration and focus will be activated more readily. So it's important that dementia residents are exposed to activities that can stimulate their thinking, such as crosswords and quizzes, so that with that thinking and cognition, that gets them away from the mind stress and all the anxieties associated not just with dementia, but also living in a dementia unit. And when dementia residents start to get engaged in activities, especially as a group, there's that camaraderie, because they eventually get to realise that they've all got the same memory problem, and indeed that they have dementia. And with that, there's a solace and a camaraderie that they're all in the same boat, so to speak, and they'll support each other through that. So in the workshops that I took at the dementia units that I worked at, this was very apparent that if one dementia resident would start to make the effort, then from that point on, others would. I mean, this work of making an effort to focus and concentrate does take effort. It takes individual effort. You can't push thoughts into people. They have to be pulled in. The person has to want to make the effort, and they indeed have to make the effort for themselves. You can't make the effort for the person. But if they have the will and the wish to do it, and they make that effort and concentrate, they can also be inspired by others. It's so much more motivating for them if they can be inspired by others in the group, especially if it's a friend. If they've noticed, for example, that they've had this friend for, say, a few months, and they have breakfast together, lunch together, dinner together, and say little more than good morning or hello. And then if they can see that their friend is starting to communicate at the workshops and offer their opinion, and occasionally, speak up, then as a friend of this person, you yourself know that you're on a similar level of cognition with her from day-to-day engagement. You know that you can speak in the same manner that she does because you speak in a similar way at meal times. But if she's now developing the confidence to speak up to a group, which she hasn't done before, then you may well feel the obligation really to speak up as well. And it's the sort of group obligation paired with motivation, which is a big reason as to why dementia residents will make the effort to communicate in a group. It's much more hard to get this going one-on-one because you haven't got that group stimulus. It can still be done, but it takes a lot more motivation from the other person, trainer if you like, or teacher, to motivate the dementia resident to come out of their dementia cave. I mean, if you've been silent for some months or even years and you haven't been communicating much, you've just been the odd word now and then, you lose the will to speak, you lose the wish to speak, you don't want to speak anymore because it's just nice being quiet really. with everyone doing everything for you and you not having to say anything. I mean, it's not a quality of life, but it's a quiet type of a life. So if someone then comes along and says it's good to communicate and please communicate, you know, you're not really in the mood much after a few months or years of, you know, solace and quietness in your little spot. But if you've developed a friend and you can see you've made a friend and you can see that your friend is making the effort to try to communicate and speak up and, you know, building her confidence in the group, then you will feel that, yes, you know, well, you know, you should make the effort as well. And even if it's just the odd word now and then, at least it's something. And what actually happens, it can build from there. Once you start to communicate and get the positive feedback from that, from others, you know, praising you and being interested in you, then of course things start to pick up. There was one woman at one workshop where I worked, and she was a very quiet person, but she was very intent in her expression. Now, this is actually how you can tell if a dementia resident is concentrating. I'll actually go through this because it's an important step, important process. So how can you tell if a dementia resident is concentrating and focusing? The main way to be able to tell is through their eyes and their expression. If they're not focused and concentrating, often their eyes are downcast, their features are flat, and there's no engagement. Once they start concentrating, the first step, of course, is that they're looking at you, or they're looking ahead at the whiteboard, or there's an expression of engagement. So at least they're looking. Then after that, you can actually start to see that their expression becomes more animated and their eyes become more focused. And the more they become focused, the more the eyes become concentrated. It's a subtle expression and you need to look out for it, but it's quite clear once you can pick it up. Now, once that dementia resident is focusing and concentrating, you know then that they'll be thinking. And if they can think, then they can communicate. So it's at that point that you can ask them to make the effort to communicate. But firstly, you have to make sure that they've got the interest, the focus, and the engagement, and the thinking capacity to do that. So read through the eyes, and then you sort of have to test the waters, so to speak, and pick the right moment. So with this woman who was at one of the workshops I was at, she had a very intent gaze. I could see that she was concentrating and focusing. She was enjoying the workshops. The reason why I knew that was because she came to every single workshop. She would never miss. I'd go and say to her, the workshop's on, and she'd get up. She wasn't very good at walking, so it was a bit of an effort. She'd get up and she'd walk over. She never ever made an excuse for coming to the workshops, but she never communicated either. She'd just sit, listen, look, learn, understand, appreciate, enjoy, and say nothing. Anyway, this day I thought, no, it's time she says something. So I went over and I said, now, what is it that you like about the workshops? And she said, everything. I said, very good. So you enjoy everything? Yes. Then after that, she didn't really say much after that either. But she continued to come, and she was a good contributor to the workshop in silence, but still better than nothing. So some residents, probably I'd say of the work that I did, of those that became engaged and interested in the workshops, 80% would contribute, but she wasn't one of them. But she was a lovely lady, and we all enjoyed having her there. So getting this thinking going, this focus and concentrating and understanding, and being part of these activities really helps improve dementia residents' quality of life. So I've written these two books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both on Amazon, ebook, softcover, hardcover, and on my website, pietavalentine.com. So thank you for your looks, and please subscribe. Thank you.